Hi, everybody,
Hey.
and welcome. My name's Dean. That is Zeb. This is the FiveStack. We're talking about his dog who's literally in heat, and I don't mean like sexual heat. I mean, poor Boomer is hot because there's a heat dome over Toronto, and specifically the eastern portion of the United States and Canada, where it's literally with the humidex. Like, if you, depending on if you're in the United States, I'm going to speak in Celsius. It's like a 50, 45, between 45 and 47 degrees, depending on where you are. Where I live in Toronto, your dog's going crazy. People don't have air conditioning. Like thousands of people downtown Toronto are out of power, so they don't have air conditioning either. So it's been miserable. It's been one of those things. Like, it's like you pray for nice weather. We had a shit spring, and then all of a sudden, and I didn't come here to get into a conversation about the weather. Don't worry.
But you're
We'll get
Canadian. You have to.
we'll
You
get
have to.
into the stuff in just a second. But holy shit, is it hot? Hopefully you're keeping cool out there, five stackers. I really do, as we get into the five biggest stories of the day. Does your air conditioning work before we get any further
It
down the road
works,
here?
but it does not work under these conditions as well as it should. I went outside earlier on. It's oppressive outside. It's like, oh my gosh, it's hard to go for a dog walk. It was took took a little bit out of me. So, that AC doesn't work for that kind of
No.
stuff. It works for your typical, heat waves, but not this kind of oppressive heat dome thing that's going on right now.
Yeah,
But
it
welcome
sucks.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, it sucks. Do you have air conditioning? You look very cool,
Yeah,
as you
I
always
do.
do.
I have not left that. Well, it's not true. I have actually not left my house today. I went to the gym in the morning, came back, and I haven't left my house. So I couldn't tell you. Like, I know it was really fucking hot this morning, but I can't tell you how hot it is right now. I think it's like about 40 degrees. So I've got to like I got to feel premium all the time. I
Yeah.
do not like having a sweaty back. I do not, unless I'm working out. I don't like
Yeah.
glistening while I go for
Even
a
then,
walk.
I don't
I
like a
hate
sweaty
that.
back. Yeah, I'm not a
No,
big
I don't.
sweater. I mean, I do sweat, but I don't like it. But this is not we should segue from sweating to Donald Trump sweating today. Leaving the White House, I think he was on his way to NATO, and boy, does the strain of the job show when you're dropping an F-bomb in front of the White House press corps and, doing what he did there, doing diplomacy via Truth Social, telling Israel that they've got to stop dropping the bombs. I mean, this is not how it works, dude. And certainly before the world's press, you're supposed to be a little bit more, composed, not dropping F-bombs. You don't like F-bombs. It looks unpredictable. It looks like his whole policy is unpredictable because this guy just 24 hours ago was all gung-ho about attacking Iran. Now he's like, oh, call it off. Call it off. What happened in those 20
Start the car.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what happened. His popularity, his favorability ratings dropped dramatically. He went to 41%,
Yeah.
This is what happens when you start a foolish war that no one really wants to be part of and no American supports, and you're just doing it for your buddy Bibi Netanyahu. Guess what? It backfires, and it backfired spectacularly. So that's why today he told everybody on live TV, which is great, in the middle of the day, don't know what the fuck. So this is about Iran and Israel. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, and screamed at Israel in all caps on Truth Social, do not drop those bombs, all while cameras roll. This was a masterclass in how not to do diplomacy.
Oh man, someone in the comment section, and hi PJ, hi Linda, hi everybody, hi ladies, hi gentlemen. Someone in the comment section was just like, yeah, maybe he's trying to make Iran great again. And I'm like, he actually tweeted that. And Miga, he says, Iran, can we just back up and start talking about not just the F-bomb that he dropped and how visibly pissed he looked and how tired and low energy and angry and stupid the felon president looked today.
He had a meltdown.
He snapped. And he has had a very, very bad 48 hours. Let me recount them with you. Obviously, attacks Iran, tells everybody he obliterated a couple of nuclear facilities like nobody's ever seen before, says the trouble's done in the Middle East. I took care of it. No other president could do it. I'm the guy that did it. Okay?
Give me the Peace Prize.
Yeah, I want the Nobel Peace Prize. And then he gets all of his friends and his family to say, yeah, how come my dad hasn't won the fucking Nobel Peace Prize? And then someone's like, okay, I'll put your name in for the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, someone withdrew his name for the Nobel Peace Prize this morning because what I'm about to tell you is very true. Is not only did Donald Trump walk out fuming angry today on the White House lawn like the village idiot, screaming and yelling. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. And if anybody in this equation doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, it's the president of the United States. Let's just
Yeah.
put that on fucking Front Street. So that was beyond parody. I thought that was hilarious. But that was because he spent the entire night truth socialing his little penis off. Like he was truth socialing all night long. And what was he truth socialing? And I'm not kidding you. He was negotiating a ceasefire between Iran and Israel on Truth Social by just saying there was a ceasefire on Truth Social.
That's how he negotiated it. He just declared it because they're all in on it. I mean, they're all in on it. These three guys, the three parties are involved. Putin's involved. You know that they're all involved. And so he can declare a ceasefire because he's one of the parties that just saying, "Hey, I'm out of here." Because he's one of the parties involved in this theater that went on for the last 48 hours. I mean, it really was theater. It did nothing to the nuclear facilities. It did something to the nuclear facilities, but it did nothing to their capability with all that uranium that was enriched uranium that was smuggled away before the attacks took place. And then the theater of the response, the retaliation, which was what? Like,
dude,
we're going to pretend send you missiles?
Into the theater. Let's get into the theater, okay? Because these Truth Social or tweets, as we like to call them, I'm not calling them Truth Social posts, whatever the fuck you call them. They started and ended so beautifully, so Trump-like, so dementia-laden, so pure mental and physical declining that to walk you through it, starting at around 8:30 last night, he said, and I quote, "Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected, and have very effectively countered." They didn't. Qatar did. "There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down, and one was set free because it was headed into a non-threatening direction. I am pleased to set free. He set it free. Be gone, missile. I am pleased to report that no Americans were harmed. Hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system," he says. So they've been fucking walloping Israel, hammering different air bases in the Middle East. And he's like, it's got it out of their system. This is a war, dude. And he's like, hopefully there'll be no further hate. Yeah, that's a war, not hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost. And nobody would be injured. To your point, pure fucking theater. Like if you can read through it, you can read in it. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region. I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States. He then followed that up with, and I quote, "The ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States." He then follows that up with this like hero tweet, right, where he puts himself at the center of the story. And he tells this beautiful story in a tweet, which is totally incoherent and an absolute lie, because not only did Israel refute this, Iran refuted this as well. He says, and I quote, "Israel," I wish we had some nice music to play. "Israel and Iran came to me almost simultaneously and said, 'Peace.'" All caps. "I knew the time was now." Zeb, he knew the time was now. "The world and the Middle East are the real winners. Both nations will see tremendous love, peace, and prosperity in their future." Sounds lovely. "They have so much to gain and yet so much to lose if they stray from the road of righteousness and truth." "The future for Israel and Iran is unlimited, filled with great promise. God bless you both." As he's writing that tweet, this is at 10:16. 10:18, Israel bombs the shit out of Iran. As he's writing that tweet. And then he's like, "Israel's not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran," he says in another tweet. I'm not kidding you. He's like nobody's going to get hurt
in this war over Truth Social in open public. I mean, don't you have diplomatic channels or military channels to communicate this with your partners? It's
not
ridiculous.
Really. No, the defense secretary's drunk and Tulsi Gabbard's in some kind of sweat hut in some cult religious experience in Hawaii. They're busy. So then he says, "Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire's in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States." As he's writing that, Israel bombs the shit out of Iran. Iran then sends a bunch of missiles back in. And Donald Trump's like, "Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it's a major violation, apparently, of Truth Social. Bring your pilots home now." Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. To your point, he is absolutely conducting this war, negotiations around the war, like he did the tariffs, like he does with everything, because he just doesn't have the balls to actually pick up the phone and call somebody. What he does is he puts it on Twitter,
Right.
so Truth Social, and he hopes it works. I'm not kidding you. He literally invented a ceasefire today.
Yeah,
He
no, he
invented
invented
one.
it, but he also it tells you so much because firstly, this was obviously a coordinated event, the whole thing. Because you couldn't do that. You couldn't just coordinate a ceasefire,
He did.
and invent one and make
He
it
did.
actually stick unless you actually were in on the whole thing in the first place. So clearly, this whole theater of let's attack your nuclear sites and the consequence of that was the increased oil prices, which is going to really benefit Vladimir Putin, like really benefit Vladimir
And
Putin
not
in his
us.
war.
Won't
Yeah,
benefit us.
not
Yeah,
a.
no,
And
no.
so this like play war, we go back and forth, and then you'll send play missiles at us. This is all theater, right? And they all had to be in on the plan. There's no ways this would have been executed and then ended so effectively if it wasn't. If these guys were really at war with each other, do you think a ceasefire would have been reached by Donald Trump over Truth Social? Not a chance. Not a chance would it have been. They would have spent months negotiating a ceasefire.
Dude,
Look
he
how
made it
hard it's
up.
been negotiating a ceasefire in Ukraine. It has taken months. It's impossible to do. It's just not something that's going to happen overnight
He made
unless
it
they're
up.
all in on it. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
no,
he either made it
he,
up or they're all in on making it up.
yeah, yeah,
But like, I don't doubt that he made it up, and here's why. Like, if those are the most two plausible scenarios that Trump and the axis of evil are all kind of playing us for fucking fools, and they made up this whole thing. You shoot a couple things at us, we'll shoot some things at you. We'll all stay in power. We'll get rid of some bad press here. You can get rid of
yeah.
some bad press there. Everybody's good. So there's
Oil
that one.
prices
There's
will go up.
oil
Let's got to
prices will
remember
go up.
that.
You're going to
It's
make a bunch of money.
important. Yeah,
Putin, Vlad, you're going to make a ton. You're going to make out like a bandit 50, 60 billion in a month. You're going to be
yeah,
great. He's like, yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe I can buy that. I can kind of buy that. But the other thing that I think is more plausible is the same
yeah.
guy that was inventing fake phone calls with China's president about tariffs. Or he's like, that guy never fucking called me once. He's lying. He didn't. He did, and made up like fake phone calls, fake annexations of countries, fake fentanyl crises in Canada, fake drug cartels are taking over North America. Fake, 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 fake. It's entirely even more plausible to me that he made up the ceasefire on Truth Social just so he could somehow add his stats to get maybe some kind of Nobel Peace
Oh,
Prize. And
I
I'm not
mean,
kidding you, because he's been pimping. Dude, the other thing he's been doing, which India has like gone after him for, is he's been pimping this ridiculous idea that he somehow single-handedly negotiated the
ridiculous.
ceasefire between Pakistan and India. And Modi cornered him at the G7 before he split in
Yeah.
embarrassment. He's like, you did no such thing. And he's like, I didn't say anything like that.
What do you mean? I didn't say that. Well, at least in Truth Social, we can keep the record. Look, the favorability ratings were a disaster. They plummeted.
Yeah.
His approval ratings plummeted to 41%, his lowest of the term. But his foreign policy approval crashed to 35%, which is really bad for him. CNN polling showed 56% of Americans disapproved of the strike, with opposition reaching 68% amongst voters under 35. So this was just disastrous policy. People were seeing right through it. They knew exactly what he was doing. And of course, this is like the Trump base, or the only people who supported basically bombing Iran. Only 19% of Trump's 2024 voters voted in support of this. And so this is, he was reacting because the whole thing was falling apart. It was malfunctioning in real time. His whole plot to become, the hero of the Middle East and end nuclear weapons proliferation by Iran collapsed on him. It just completely collapsed on him. Everyone saw through it. And he needed to do something in an emergency. So he had a meltdown. And that's the
Yeah.
meltdown we saw today.
Listen, he also, once everything went sideways on him this morning at like 8:14 in the morning, and then 8:19 puts out a tweet that says, quote, China can now continue to purchase oil from Iran. Hopefully they will be purchasing plenty from the U.S. Also, it was my great honor to make this happen. So he's taking credit for that. Here's another one that he's, and this was like, you want to talk unhinged? It's like, not that his first 9 hours overnight wasn't unhinged on some kind of stimulant, fucking Truth Social rage,
Yeah.
bait farming. It was crazy. He's like, everyone, this is all caps, keep oil prices down. I'm watching.
Yeah.
I'm watching everybody and all these oil prices. You people. And then he says, you're playing right into the hands of the enemy. Who the fuck is that? Like who the like Exxon, Esso,
Well, the enemy
MBS,
must
Saudi,
be who is the enemy for
Russia.
him? I don't.
Yeah,
Who is the enemy? America is the enemy.
nobody knows. He's the
Canada's the
enemy.
enemy. I don't
We're
know.
the everybody, all of the allies. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Don't do it." And then he threatened. Pardon me. Then he threatened. Then he threatened Russia with nuclear war after that. Where
Oh,
he
he did.
said,
I
"Yeah,
missed
yeah,
that
yeah,
part.
yeah." It was like at 9 o'clock because he's trying to change the channel from these extreme failures. Like, what a fucking awful 24 hours. My fake ceasefire's done already. I'm like, anyway, he's like, did I hear former President Medvedev from Russia casually throwing around the N word, nuclear,
Yeah,
and
he
then
doesn't.
saying the N word, and then saying that he and other countries would supply nuclear warheads to Iran? Did he really say that, or is that a figment of my imagination? He's being cute here. If he did say that, and if confirmed, please let me know immediately.
He said it on. I think he said it on Twitter or something like that, or on X. I don't think it was.
He
You
wants
can see
someone
it
to
from his account. Just read it. You know,
immediately. It's all caps F. The N
immediately.
word. The N word should not be
It must
treated
be
so
nice being Donald
casually.
Trump. It just must be nice to be able to just like say at the top
To
of
be
your
this
nose,
stupid.
I ordered this, I declare this, I demand this, and then expects it to happen. Meanwhile, he gave so much advance warning to the Iranians that they had 16 trucks move 400 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium from the site well before the attacks, which made the whole thing completely useless, and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
So, not only has he, we'll get to this later, they restarted their enrichment program and now will continue to do so unabated. The rest of the world, like Medvedev, is actually saying, hey, we'll help them because you suffered a sovereign attack on your soil. What a mess. What a disaster.
A couple of things here too.
Yeah.
Not only can you go and if you go to my Substack, deanblundell.substack.com, you can have a look at not only the F-bomb he dropped this morning, but it like chronologically ordered, list of his incredibly fucking insane tweets from last night to this morning when his entire world and his fake ceasefire fell apart. But you can also go and read another story, which we're going to get to, of where that uranium is. And hang on for the FiveStack, because by the time we get to story number 1, story number 5 will have made a lot more sense because
That's
tactically, sure, strategically, absolute fucking zero. It was and still is now an even bigger disaster. When we get to story number 1, we'll tell you what it is.
That is a very good tease for what's coming up. At number 5, actually, this was a breaking news thing that we did at the top here, but at number 5 is the crypto industry's massive 2024 campaign spending just paid off as the Senate has passed landmark stablecoin legislation, which we know about last week, marking the first major digital asset regulation breakthrough. The industry ranked amongst the top political contributors for 2024. They put a lot of money, especially into the Donald Trump campaign, and that's probably one of the reasons he won. Now they've got a regulatory bill that's being put through that is finally going to make cryptocurrency regulated by these two different branches of government. They're going to do SEC and another agency is going to take over the regulation of crypto. It's a sad day, in my opinion, that we are still, working with a presidency who is intending to make huge bank of crypto, and that his political party are busy putting in the infrastructure, the regulatory infrastructure, which is ultimately going to pay off for him at the end of the day. This is just corruption. It just looks like corruption. It smells like corruption. It's billions and billions of dollars into the Trump family, and the GOP is just marching along, pushing these bills through. It's a mistake.
I think there's still so much gray area around what crypto and stable coins and meme coins and NFTs, digital assets are. Just let me put this out there just real quick.
Yeah.
That it is a multi-level marketing scam. The technology behind it is sound when it comes to sending and receiving money. The idea that crypto, stable coins, and meme coins are in any way, shape, or form were not, invented by bad people to do bad things, to send bad money all around the world. That's why digital currency exists, so you can't trace it. So just understand that, and it's worth nothing. Like what you get is just this number on a spreadsheet that says
Yeah.
this is how much of this that you own, and you give someone real money, they give you back this thing that says, here are your shares in this coin or these coins, or here are your stable coins. Here's what you own. So I'm struggling with this, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Because the technology around it is outstanding. It will be the future of sending, receiving, accepting, transferring money.
Mhm.
I believe that the world has overspent and we are debt laden. I also believe the worst people in the world are managing the rollout of stable coins. So, and I know Democrats got involved because they got lobbied, and I know a lot of them got paid, and I know a lot of lobbyists spent a lot of time and effort trying to go to the left side of the equation to get Democrats to not just understand it, but to embrace it so they could pass this legislation. If we didn't know that Donald Trump didn't make half of his current net worth 30 days prior to being installed as the 47th president of the United States, selling crypto, bullshit crypto, stealing money from people, I would be like, Zeb, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see that this is a terrible deal. But it's only a terrible deal because the worst people in the world that you know are going to benefit the most from this. But this
Mhm.
is also really important tech when it comes to the monetary systems that we are going to be using and are using right now. Now, in no way do I own Bitcoin, meme coins, stable coins. No one's paying me to say, "Hey, listen, I'm trying to point out the fact that there is a mixed case use for this on a national or international level. There really, really is. However, the worst people in the world have figured out a way to fuck it up before we even get there, and so it's going to be treated with the same sort of questions. Is going to be treated by people like you that know all about crypto, all about Bitcoin, who's behind it, with this slanty kind of look where you're like, "Yeah, it's kind of running over everybody." And yes, I see the purpose of it, but the fucking worst people in the world are using
Yeah.
this. They invented this. So can we really trust that they're not just in on every piece of action, every transaction? Can we really trust that they're not going to fuck us? And the answer is
No.
no, you can't.
Yeah. This is the number one thing you're pointing to, right? The people involved, the people who are going to make the most money of crypto, they've already invested. The first into crypto are the people who are going to make the most money. The rest of us who might pile in over time, and I don't own any either, but that might be piling in now to try and get a piece of it. We're going to lose our shirts. They're going to lose their shirt because this is not a. This has been used to siphon money out of the country. It's been used for money laundering. It's been used for drug cartels. It's been used for the most gross kind of financial activity you can imagine around the world. And it's designed to help foreign countries operate in a legitimate way, but to do all
Mhm.
these illegal things in a legitimate way. The blockchain, which you point out, is great technology and I think is revolutionizing a lot of the way the world is
Sure.
operating, and great for financial systems, great for everything. I love the blockchain. But the actual crypto environment is full of the worst people. Look at the things
Yeah.
that Donald Trump has involved himself in. He's got this World Liberty Financial Group, which is a crypto firm, basically, which is holding $2.1 billion, I think, from the UAE. As a bribe, really, it was a bribe given to the Trumps so they can keep investing and reinvesting and taking $85 million out of this a year by getting the investment returns. This is a massive, scam. This is then becomes a stable coin that can now be traded on Binance. And I know all of this gets really confusing for a lot of people, but Binance is another firm that just basically just got out of being adjudicated just in the sun, has been adjudicated, was being investigated for fraud up until a few weeks ago. Now he's best friends with the
Well,
Trump's children
keep in
and
mind
partnering.
he did give them 75 million of his dollars for
He did.
some of his World Liberty stable coins and
Yeah.
Bitcoin and crypto. And CZ, he's in trouble too, the guy that owns
Yeah.
Binance. Justin's son is involved in the crypto hotels in Dubai. I mean, it's
And
yes, they're all
the
thieves. But
yeah.
I like blockchain. Like, you can't mix up the two. You got to understand that the worst actors in the world have identified, and then this happens with everything, right? Anytime new tech, something new comes around, the world figures out a way to fuck it up. When the internet started, it was like, wow, we can download books. Pretty soon, 80% of the internet was porn. So it's
Mm.
not like, it's not like the worst people don't figure out a way to bastardize good things. This is a good thing. Blockchain's a good thing, but the people that are using it are terrible fucking people who are the masters of ceremony when it comes to legitimizing all of this, and they got their hands in everybody's pockets, and that was the whole idea.
Where is the majority of crypto mined? It's mined in China and it's mined in Russia, even though they don't even allow it in their own economies. That just tells you exactly who's benefiting
North
from this.
Korea,
Yeah,
Iran, yeah,
yeah.
all the
It's
good
not,
guys.
the new mining that's happening in America, also owned by the Trumps, by the way. They're the ones who are starting the new Bitcoin mining
Yeah,
companies
which is like
in the United
stealing
States.
money.
Yeah,
It's a digital capacity to steal money. That's what crypto mining is. So then
yeah.
they love their free money, right? That's what Trump
They
loves.
love it. They love
I
it.
don't
This
have
is
to
going to
do
fund them.
anything. You just give me money. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. The Trumps are going to get funded for eternity, and they'll be part of our world for eternity. If this goes through, it has gone through, and it looks like this is just, then we have to accept it. Crypto is here, and it's not going away. Number four, Stephen Miller's ICE contractor conflict, I guess, has been exposed. Trump's immigration hardliner, Stephen Miller, owns up to $250,000 in Palantir stock, the same company providing mission critical data services to ICE for deportations. Ethics experts are calling this a serious conflict of interest as Miller crafts the very policies that boost Palantir's profits, with the stock surging 80% this year as deportation operations intensify. It's not only that, of course, they're a surveillance company. They're tracking every American. This is a disastrous conflict of interest. Nothing's going to happen because he's not the only one. There's a bunch of people inside the Trump administration. At least 10 other Trump staffers also own Palantir's stock. More conflicts of interest, but they'll ignore them.
Yeah, a huge expose. If you go to TNR, which is a really great website, the New
Yeah.
Republic, you can read all about it. And the expose on Stephen Miller's ties to Palantir are nuclear. He's the worst fucking human being on the planet, not named Donald Trump, by the way. Stephen Miller. He
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
reminds me of like a Faraday Joseph Goebbels. Like he's
America's
just
most dangerous person. Yeah, without a
yeah.
doubt.
He's a piece of shit, and
Mm.
they're all and listen, and they're all on the take, every single one of them. Wait until James drops the pump and dump lawsuits on some lawmakers in the next 3 to 6 months. Just wait and see. This is just another one of those examples. What makes it interesting is that not only is that Stephen Miller in charge of these deportations, and not only does he own a massive slice of stock between 100 and 250,000, that stock has gone up. It's been the highest performing company on the S&P in 2025, and its stock has surged 80% over the past 6 months. 80%.
Wow. That's,
So, like that 250, times that by 80%. If he's
mm,
indeed in for $250,000,
mm.
which I have no question that he is, and no question that you're reporting, and the reporting in the New Republic's great. But this was the whole purpose behind Palantir, right? The whole purpose was, okay, we're just going to build this surveillance machine, and we're going to be able to send anybody you want a note. We'll be able to make them show up somewhere. We'll be able to track them in real time, and you can send them out of the country. The purposes of that aren't just deportation either. They're to make you vote a certain way. They're to make you angry about something. They're to start riots, stochastic terror, that kind of shit. But Stephen Miller is the worst fucking human being in the United States of America. The
Yeah.
worst. And if this doesn't just back it up, let you know that his intentions have really nothing to do with making America anything. It has everything to do with making him money. And he can be as mean and as dickheaded about the whole thing as he wants, because he's going to make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars deporting people to concentration camps in 3 different countries.
And what I'd like to know is if there was insider trading involved. Like, was before he became the White House Deputy Chief of Staff or advisor, whatever he is right now on immigration issues, did he know that Palantir was going to be the choice of that administration to be the ultimate surveillance platform for all these immigration issues? I bet you he did. I bet you a lot of people inside the White House knew that because Peter Thiel basically sponsored, alongside Elon Musk, the Trump administration. That's how we got JD Vance, Peter Thiel's, creation. Really, he made JD Vance out of nothing into a senator and then into the vice president. So you got to imagine that all of these people cashing in right now on all the stock, they knew Palantir was going to be making a lot of money in this year because they're going to expand all their capability across the entire U.S. government. What could be
Yep.
more valuable than that?
No, nothing. Palantir also is deeply involved in shipbuilding now with the United States Navy. So
The
it's
Golden
not
Dome, by the way, the Starlink and Palantir are uniting together for the
Golden
Golden
Dome.
Dome.
It'll never
Yeah,
happen. By the way,
never.
that fucking
Yeah,
Golden Dome will never happen. So yeah, I mean, these are just cash cows. Or Palantir is Peter Thiel's Tesla to what Elon Musk is. They're just a cash cow where you roll in all your tech, you roll in and you invite all your friends in there, and you're like, hey, I'll give you a piece of the action, I'll sell you a piece of the company, get in on the ground
Oh, you froze, and I don't know if that's your Wi-Fi that's happening, so I'm gonna give you a second to
Yes.
fix that. I can
You
hear
there?
you. I can hear you. I can't see you, but you'll come back. There you go. You're back.
There you go. It's back scratching one.
Oh, no. Nope, don't hear. I'll remind everyone while Dean is just getting us back here that Peter Thiel and Elon Musk have been together for a long, long time, since the 90s, as business partners in PayPal. It's no surprise that they're still together now, corrupting this administration and doing everything they're doing. Dean looks very frozen in time right now. I expect he'll join us in just a second. In the meantime, let me get you to the number 3 story of the day on the FiveStack. In a devastating blow to due process, the Supreme Court allowed Trump to resume deporting immigrants to random third countries, including war-torn places like South Sudan and Libya, without advance notice or meaningful opportunity to contest the potential torture and deaths. This is a ridiculous, obviously, ruling that we are appalled by, as I try to invite him back here. Let's see if he comes back. Without advance notice or meaningful opportunity to contest potential torture or death. 3 liberal justices strongly dissented, warning the majority decision exposes thousands to deadly risks in unstable nations. That is the number 3 story on the countdown. Here is Dean Blundell back.
Wi-Fi had a problem. Back on 5G. I'm on 5G. I'm on 5G. I hope it doesn't interact with my vaccine microchip.
Yeah, hopefully not in the next. We've got another 30 minutes of this. It'll be okay, probably, if you're okay. If 5G.
Yeah.
What happens when it interacts? Do you have a weird?
I don't know. It
reaction?
hasn't happened yet. I've had all my shots though, so I'm still waiting.
So Palantir is going to be able to beam itself down into your body and tell you what to do. It's going to be like, move your arm this way. Say these things.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows, anytime something happens tech-wise, it's because the microchip has been activated by China in my bloodstream, and it's interfering with the Wi-Fi. So next time I'm going to wear my tinfoil hat. Just make sure
it's microchip direct to satellites. It's just
direct
Starlink
to
now.
Starlink.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Literally brought to you by Palantir and Starlink at the moment.
You're not really a human being, are you? You're just like
no,
an avatar.
None of us are really human beings anymore, especially if you got the shot. Have you not been listening to the Hillbillies? Have you not been listening to the anti-vax Hillbillies recently?
I have been listening to them. Are they still doing that? I thought they did that. They finished that in 2020.
I got one, just a quick aside. I got this yesterday, and then we'll move on to story number 3.
Yeah.
I got this yesterday. Some guy's like, I'm like, oh my God, people are still doing this. They're still doing. Some guy's like, whatever, go get more booster shots. And I'm like, I put out a tweet about have a great day.
Yeah.
This guy's like, whatever, go get more boosters. You'll only be happy when China's operating in your brain. And I'm like, is this still happening?
Work.
Are we still
vaccines work? They're actually proven to work. There's science behind them. It's not just imagination. Actually, this stuff works. Anyhow.
Anyway, just a quick aside. I'm glad we moved on.
No problem. Yeah, that's MAGA. The liberal justices, in arguing their decision, they were furious at the 6-3 decision. It undermines due process and exposes thousands to the risk of torture or death in unstable countries. What's going on in America right now is appalling. You've got these masked people showing up at people's workplaces, dragging them away, beating them up, throwing them into deportation centers, and then ultimately they could land up now with the Supreme Court's blessing in some, gulag in El Salvador or Libya or Sudan. Yeah. What is this? I mean, what has to become of America's due process? Why are these people masked? I don't understand why we don't know.
Because they're pussies, dude.
Well, because they're also not legally probably able to be there. It's potentially a lot of these people are day contractors. They're not even full-time employees. The ICE people are allowed to basically hire, temporary contract people to help them facilitate all this. So they could be the insurrectionists. They could be anybody. Yeah. So these people shouldn't be being a law and order function, picking people up and deporting them. So they're covering themselves up in mass so they can't be identified because they know how awful it'll be if the internet actually got a hold of their faces and we could identify who they were, because they're committing the most appalling crimes day in and day out. And this Supreme Court ruling is just offensive. I mean, yes. The government should be allowed to outsource all sorts of things to foreign countries, but this, without due process, is just maddening.
Yeah.
We need to have this. We need to have due process. We can't ignore it.
Habeas corpus, is that what you're talking about? Habeas corpus, it's a right of life. Listen, we talk about policies and we talk about decisions and we talk about Supreme Court justices and judges and appeals court and appellate court and Ninth District. There is the optics and the visuals that we see every day. of Americans beating Americans for being in America. The optics of, a food vendor in LA yesterday. I don't know if you saw the video.
Yeah.
Didn't get arrested. He got beat.
It's the gardener. Was it the gardener
Yeah.
with the weed whacker? Yeah,
Yeah, well,
absolutely
no,
awful.
that guy got beat
Oh,
too. I'm talking about a
okay.
fucking food vendor
Oh, I didn't
selling
see
like
that one.
deep fried octopus on the streets of LA, and he gets fucking literally grabbed, smashed into the ground.
Yeah.
5 or 6 ICE agents on top of him, beating the shit out of him. This is one of thousands, and there's a quota. There's a quota for those beatings. And who's doing it? Why are they wearing masks? Great questions. A lot of these guys, as you pointed out, are contractors. A lot of them are bounty hunters. A lot of them are J6 pardoned criminals. And a lot of them are just, security guard agents that answer to fucking an ad online to join ICE and to make up to $1,000 to $1,500 per bounty. So that's who's doing this. Now, the optics in what I see, it's killing America. We see it all the time here in the comments section. How many people I'm so embarrassed to be American. I'm so embarrassed to be here. And the reason why people are embarrassed, it's because all cruelty springs from weakness, and there's an indecency that is running the United States at the moment. There's this meanness, there's this anger, there's this violence that isn't just being allowed, it's being co-opted, it's being paid for, it's being rewarded. That is not America. That's not the America that we know and love. That is not the vision I have of America. That's not the vision Americans have of America. And if you remember back to the not January 6th, the convoy, the fake trucker convoy that
Mm.
happened up here. There is a visual that upset Canadians so much that we turned on that entire group. And
Yeah.
that visual was of several visuals of those people being incredibly fucking mean to the citizens of Ottawa for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
where the entire tide turned on them. And that wasn't what we wanted Canada to represent. And
Mhm.
that kickstarted a movement back to progressive values, kind values, Canadian values, where Mark Carney cleaned up. He's now got like a 35-point approval rating, higher than Pierre Poilievre, who is a shoo-in for the prime minister's office. And the reason why I'm telling you this, and this is really, really important, is because Americans and Canadians, is because that's what's going to end Donald Trump. That is what is going to end these ICE raids. It's when people in a democracy get sick enough of their democracy looking like an authoritarian organization, of their democracy being perverted by
Criminal
fascism and
thugs.
violence, thugs, where they're going to stand up in front of it and go, come for me now. That is the only way you're going to save America at this point. Because what I see daily of ICE fans pulling up, dragging old ladies out by their hair, beating the shit out of gardeners, just trying to fucking make a living, running through strawberry fields, tackling old ladies, trying to run away from a $5 an hour job so they can feed their fucking families. It, it's so gross and it is so indecent, and it's not democratic. That is not a democracy.
And these guys think that they're, strong men, that they're somehow, look at us, we're going to get all these immigrants and deport them. These people are going to courts for regular hearings, or they're going to work for their regular jobs. Of course, they're sitting ducks for these people. They have to go to work because they want to get paid. They have to go to their hearings because they're following the law. And meanwhile, these illegal thugs, really criminal thugs, are going in there and grabbing them, tearing apart their lives, throwing them into deportation centers where you can't even reach them for days at a time. They've been beat up. Many have suffered injuries and we're not treating them. And then they potentially could be deported to a country that's not of their origin, which means they can land up in fucking Sudan or Libya, which is not a good place to go.
Well, have you heard about these fake ICE agents that are kidnapping people out of their houses and selling them into human trafficking rings? Have you heard about these?
No, I haven't heard about that. I know about
yesterday.
ICE raids. The other thing that
anybody can put on a fucking vest and a fucking mask and run around with an M16 in the United States and knock on a door and tell them to come out, tell them to get in the car, and then take them anywhere. I mean, it's happened apparently dozens of times.
Yeah.
And that's what you get with stuff like this, because there are no rules, there are no laws. When there are no laws and are no rules, everybody takes advantage of the atmosphere, and the atmosphere says you can kidnap somebody in the United States now. This is legal kidnapping of migrants and Americans and people who don't look white enough. That's
And
all it is.
it's a real shame that this Supreme Court, I mean, it's one of the darkest moments of the Supreme Court that they have decided to side with the deportation into other countries because, as Sotomayor said in her dissent, this is flagrantly unlawful. They are agreeing with the breaking of the law. They're allowing criminal activity against people that America needs to be protecting. These people are in America. They may not be citizens, but we have to look after them as Americans because that's what we do in America. That's why we have rule of law.
It's the
That's what we
human
have
thing
to
to
follow.
do.
It's the thing
It's
to do.
it's
Everyone
human. It's
does.
human.
Yeah,
These are not like listen, there's a difference.
yeah.
Values, virtues. The human thing to do is to treat people who need your help with kindness and dignity and some empathy. Right?
And they've
That's the
come to the
human thing
country
to do.
to help the economy, to
Yeah,
they support the economy. They bring money into the economy. They pay taxes, and
sure.
you're gonna throw these people into Libya.
Yeah.
And this is the thank you you're giving your neighboring countries and the people that have come here and sweated and some of them died and you built their lives here so they could be part of America. This is the thank you you're giving them. It's just so disgusting and it's so basic, and the rage it's allowing this permission around violence against people, which is state sanctioned. We don't do that. We don't have state sanctioned violence against people. And it starts today with the immigrants, but it's going to spread to everybody because at the end of the day, they're building a culture of thuggishness like they do in Russia. There's this understanding in Russia that if you're on the side of Putin, you can do violence against everybody else.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what they're saying here, is that you can do violence. They're legitimizing this thought of if you got a beef against someone who's an enemy of Trump, you're okay. Wink, wink. Nothing's going to happen to you.
Pardoning 1,600 fucking criminals
Yeah.
tends to do that, right?
Yeah.
And then telling those criminals after you pardon them, you'll give them $1,000 today, go and kick some migrant asses in California and Nevada and fucking Michigan. And by the way, you got to get me at least 10 different migrants a day. You need to go and attack Home Depots and 7-Elevens and wherever you think migrants might hang out. Yeah, I mean, it's as disgusting. America, I think, the spirit of America started to die the second that man came into office, but it dies just a little bit more every time you get a Supreme Court decision or an appellate court hearing that upholds lawlessness, the loss of human rights, basic fundamental human rights, and every time they support the angry, mean, violent Trump regime's attempt to breed fear into Americans on a daily basis. They're co-signing it. That's what they did with that decision.
There's also just a looking the other way thing. People in Nazi Germany, they said they didn't know what was going on. And they turned the other way as Jews were taken out
They
of
knew.
society and thrown into Holocaust concentration camps. This is what we're doing in America. Yes, a lot of people in America don't like the fact that there's so many brown people in America and they want them gone. There are a million ways to achieve that, by the way, than just deportations. But the current administration has gone to do down the road of deportations. And the way they're doing it is very much like the Nazi Germany's policy of taking Jews out of the society, taking gays out of society, just, disappearing them. This is what, you might today be saying, hey, I really don't want there to be so many brown people in America. And you might say, I'm going to turn the other way and let this happen, let this thing happen and pretend it's not something I can see. But you can see it. And it's going to get worse because the slippery slope of destruction and death that comes after this is quite steep. Once you allow one thing like this, the violence and the deportations and the secret disappearances, guess what? There'll be others. There'll be other groups that are suddenly thrown in there, and then there'll be deaths, and there'll be all sorts of things that this administration will justify based on the fact that you don't like brown people in your society.
Yeah, yeah. We've been saying this for months now. Like, he's just getting rid of the migrants. Nope, he's not. He's just deporting them. No. Oh, he's treating them humanely. No, none of them have been treated humanely. Yeah. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people living in the United States paying taxes. Sure, some illegal. Lots of them not. Lots of them there on temporary fucking work visas. Lots of them there on asylum. Like Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He was there because he was, or the gay hairdresser. I heard his whole story yesterday.
That's heartbreaking.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just, and they're televising this. That they want the free world. And Canada went to great lengths to not have any optics of violence when the convoy happened, right? You wait 3 weeks. We sent in the horses. They moved like a foot every hour and kind of just slowly moved people out of the way. Nobody was hurt. A woman got hit with a horse. Big fucking deal. She
Yeah.
had 3 weeks to move. That was my opinion. You had 3 weeks to move. You didn't move. You got hit by a horse when he was walking by. You're going to be fine. Donald Trump has mandated that they turn this into cosplaying. Kristi Noem gets to play fucking dress up like a cowboy or a cowgirl or a fucking someone getting out of a Black Hawk during some kind of night raid mission. She goes to CCOT. She gets dressed up like an ICE agent. Dr. Phil goes on ice raids, and they've got like 24 episodes in the can for a show about Dr. Phil going around helping other ICE agents take away people's due process and human rights and beat the shit out of migrants. There's another reality TV show that the Trump family has okayed, which they're getting paid for. A reality television show where they're going to show the worst of the worst. It's their show. They
It's good
are
TV,
televising this on purpose.
They can make money out of this. They're making money out of
They
it.
can also scare the living shit out of 365 million people. And they can also scare the living shit out of everybody who wants to come to the United States for a vacation, because that's worked. No one's going to the United States anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what a Canadian, like I've got Canadian friends that have canceled businesses, contracts, vacations, kids who've said, I'm not fucking going to Kent State next year.
I can't go to the United States.
No.
I'd be arrested in a heart. Like before I even landed, they'd be looking for me. Look, this is a
They'd
disaster.
be looking in my backside the second I got to the airport.
Yeah, they're doing all sorts of things. You're not going anywhere in the States. Let's get to the number 2 story because it involves Canada. It's Canada breaking with America, really. Canada's unanimously passed the One Canadian Economy Act. That's Bill C-5, and signed a game-changing security partnership with the EU, effectively ending the special relationship with Trump's America. You have all the details on the story at the deanblundell.substack.com site, so I'm going to hand it over to you. What exactly is C5, and what is this big deal that Canada has signed with the EU?
Well, first of all, let me just say it's not sexy to talk about bills in the House of Commons, and I get that, right? It's like talking about the big, beautiful bill. It's like 8,000 pages long. You know, going to go through it. So I'll give you the Coles notes. Mark Carney, when he became the prime minister, prior to becoming the prime minister, had a plan to build Canada. He called it nation building. His goal was to build Canada into a superpower, so we're not reliant on the United States of America for anything, from any kind of military help, any kind of military procurement, any kind of economic or trade agreement, everything all at once. And said, we're going to engage. If you elect me as your prime minister, we're going to engage in a nation building generation that will build Canada into a military and economic powerhouse, because we have everything the world not wants but needs: natural resources. So Bill C-5 is the One Canada Act. It's brilliant. Mark Carney and his team put together the One Canada Act to remove interprovincial trade barriers. Yes, there is no free trade in Canada between provinces. There will be now. That passed unanimously. And it also gives the federal government jurisdiction to get rid of all the red tape so that we can start building now, so that we can put shovels in the ground now, so we can start paving that corridor across Canada, so we can build pipelines, we can build ports, we can retrofit anything we need so we can get these raw materials out of the ground to ports and to our new partners in the EU. 32 different countries that are now signed on to this agreement, which was signed yesterday in Europe, in Brussels, with Ursula and Antonio right next to him, the president of the EU and the vice chairman of the EU. It was called the Canada-EU Summit. Big Canadian flag, big EU flag. And they signed an agreement to not only break from the United States and any kind of dependence we have on purchasing, using, or working with them in any military capacity. We've now gone all in with the European Union with that security deal. So we're done with that security and special arrangement we had with integrating with the United States. It's over. We've also signed a historic, both of these agreements. It's one agreement, but there's 2 major aspects to it. Military procurement, which we're going to be involved in, rearming the EU, building our own military. We've talked about this before. But we've also signed a historic trade agreement where we're going to drop trade barriers between EU countries and Canada, Auckland, New Zealand. Same thing with Australia. They're going to get involved in the pact. Not only is the EU involved, I believe the UK is involved as well. They're also involved in these conversations because of Brexit. They can't be. However, this is like a giant fuck you to the Trump-aligned United States. This is Canada saying to Donald Trump, not only do we not trust you or anybody in your regime, we're going to do business with everybody else other than you. We're going to do business in a circular fashion. And while we're doing that business, we're going to build Canada into the economic and military superpower that we know we can, because Donald Trump tried to extort us and then he tried to annex us and he scared the shit out of an entire country. Now Canada's leading from the front. We're now the leaders of the free world. We have the ear of every major leader in the world who fucking matters. And now we have a rock solid security and trade agreement with all of those EU countries. And if you think that Germany's not going to go through with their rearmament plan, you're nuts.
Oh,
if you
they're
think
going.
Sweden,
They're doing
Finland,
it. 5%,
Estonia,
yeah.
Lithuania, and that's the other thing. Everybody agreed to go 5% for their military spend into NATO for their GDP.
Yeah.
So
That's a big
yesterday
deal.
was a massive deal, and you could see all of the foundational bricks in this nation-building project kind of come together with that announcement of not only Bill C-5 passing unanimously, which does not happen in Canada. Conservatives even fucking, they were like, yeah, let's do it. The Bloc were like, yeah, let's fucking do it. Let's build it all across Canada.
Yeah.
So it was a great day for Canada, not just because we got some certainty for our future and our sovereignty and our security and our economics, but we also said, fuck you to Donald Trump and the Trump regime in the United States of America in a big, bad way yesterday.
And this is not one of those things that's going to be reversed. And anyone if you think about the world map and you look at the world map from the top down, in other words, from the Arctic down, now that a lot of that ice areas or the iced areas around the North Pole have melted because of greenhouse gases and all these other things that have happened, climate change. What it's allowed is trade to proliferate across those trading routes that are along the Arctic. And when you look at Canada and its proximity to Europe, you look at Canada's proximity to Russia, you look at Canada's proximity to China. From that perspective, you no longer have to go around the world to get your materials to North America or to get your materials to Europe or Russia. That is a significant, massive change in the way the world trade routes have operated. And this is, with Canada having such a sizable, front of that Arctic. I mean, there's such a huge part of the Arctic coalition, of the Arctic Council, at least. They stand to gain so much. And America then becomes the backseat driver of the North American economy, not the front seat guys. The front seat guys are going to be Canada now because they have all the resources. They have all the ability to reach all these other countries far quicker than anybody else. And they can still get access to the United States. But it becomes, really difficult to understand why a U.S. president would isolate Canada at a time when he knows he needs Canada so much in order to have this, this Arctic access. Like, why would you cut yourself off from having this Arctic access? It's ridiculous.
Let me add to that. Not only is Canada becoming very important to the future of America, which Donald Trump is slowly choking to death, actually quickly choking to death. There's a little skirmish in the Middle East where the Strait of Hormuz could get shut down tomorrow. And 20% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Guess how much more important Canada becomes to the United States then?
Yeah.
Right?
As a producer of oil and also a port of call for oil tankers. It's and the oil pipeline, as you point out, is such a big deal that it's almost malpractice. I guess in his mind, he thought he was going to get Greenland, he was going to get Canada, one of these, and he'd have his Arctic access, but that ain't happening. Not after the last 24 hours when he tried to do his last military intervention. That didn't go so well. So I don't think he's going to be trying Greenland.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like he's not a war guy. Like he really is a pussy. Like the only military action, Taco. He always chickens out. Always. Like he attacks around. And he's like, ceasefire, please. For God's sake, stop. Planes, turn around.
Ooh, war hurts me. Ouch. I'm going home. Stop the fighting.
But he did the same thing morning when he killed Soleimani, if you remember that, he
Yeah.
came out and he's like, and then I can't remember who else they killed another guy. He died like a dog. He was like gave this press conference,
Yeah.
and then he's like, and if Iran does anything, we're gonna hit him back 5 times harder. Well, Iran attacked a couple of bases, if you
Yeah.
remember. Whole bunch of Marines got like traumatic brain injuries, some major injuries at
Right.
that U.S. base in the Middle East, and Trump did nothing.
Yeah.
Trump did nothing. Like, I mean, even today, he was like, "Hey, thanks for giving us the heads up before you attacked us. It's over. Ceasefire. It's over."
In fact, he said they
This
didn't
might,
even suffer the head injuries. They denied that they suffered
yeah,
any
he lied about
injuries.
that. Yeah, they
Yeah.
did. A lot of them did. Yeah, a lot of them are still
Uh,
fucked up because of it. So, yeah, I mean, that's the only saving grace is that he's such a huge pussy. He's probably going to get
yeah,
out
but
of doing
meanwhile,
anything
America's
really smart.
economy is being hobbled by this, very smart Mark Carney. He's doing some good stuff in Canada. The number one story is Iran is openly mocking Trump's obliteration claims, revealing they moved 408 kilograms of weapons-grade uranium before his strikes because he wouldn't stop posting about it on social media. Iranian officials are now enriching uranium again while taunting that they planned ahead for Trump's telegraphed attacks, making the nuclear threat worse than before the bombing. This is a story from deanblundell.substack.com. Dude, obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to tell people. They will move
You
it out of
know,
the way.
I know that we've talked a lot about heavy
Yeah.
shit today, but it's
Yeah.
been really fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of Iran, but when I was watching CNN this morning, I watched a little Fox News this morning. I try and check in on the enemy. I try and check in on your friends. You got to understand what everybody's doing. So I'm watching CNN, and they got this guy on, and they're like, uh, General David Petraeus. He's on with Wolf Blitzer, who I always
Yeah.
laugh at. He goes because he's like he hasn't blinked in like 40 years of
And he's
TV.
not changed. He does not age, that man. I
No.
think he looks exactly the same now as he did like in
I'm Wolf
1980.
Blitzer. You're in the situation room, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, blink once if you're okay. You need to send some help. Anyway, he's on
an
with Wolf.
avatar.
Yeah, he really is. So he's on with Wolf, and he's like, yeah, so, we've got satellite images, David Petraeus, satellite images of about 16 different vehicles rolling up, going into a tunnel, coming out a couple hours later, about a week before the strikes happen. And he just, I just touched base with the Iranians, and they're like, we planned ahead. Because of all Trump's
You told us.
social posts,
so we moved our nukes. You told us you were going to shoot us, and so we moved. I mean, it's like, of course you do that. That's why you don't telegraph.
Those sneaky Iranians.
Yeah. And remember his first administration, he says, I'm never going to telegraph what I do ahead of time. I'm not that dumb. Meanwhile, he truth posts it, whatever the I'm going to do this
he's
war.
at the flag raising. Remember he's at the flag raising, and Caitlin Collins is like, so like, what are your plans? He goes, I'm going to tell you. And I'm like, dude, you've been tweeting about it all week. Like,
exactly. Such a surprise. We were all caught by surprise Saturday night when that happened. Wow. You really got us.
This is the interesting part is not only are they openly mocking him, going, yeah, we planned ahead. We moved we moved our enriched uranium. But they also said, we're continuing to enrich the uranium. So, and you'll never find it. And we're the only people, us and Russia are the only people who know where it is. So not only was, as we said to start this podcast, this military strike a cocked up political exercise, not only was it an abject failure when it comes to striking the target, they probably got the target, but Donald Trump now is responsible for somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 pounds of highly enriched weapons-grade nuclear uranium.
Yyep. And
somewhere
the
in
Russians
Russia
will help. And the Russians will help, it's no problem. No problem. They're,
think about, like, if you want to like define failure, his last 72 hours have been like the biggest failure of any president and any 72 hours of any Bay of Pigs. I mean, mission accomplished. This is pure, unadulterated failure on a deadly international scale. They don't know where the uranium is anymore. They just took it. They're like,
and Russia's Medvedev is saying, hey, we'll help them. We'll help them now because you attacked them. But this entire presidency, remember when he said he was going to just stop the war in Ukraine within 48 hours? Never happened. his policy around immigration and all these illegal people that he was going to send never happened.
Trump always
Doge,
chickens out.
remember Doge was meant to save us trillions of dollars, never
Zero.
happened. Every single thing he's put forward has been a disaster. And then this particular Iranian prosecution is ridiculous. The Canada stuff, Canada 51st state, never happened, just embarrassed
Everything
him.
he's done is backfired, dude.
It's been disastrous presidency, disastrous on every level. And yet here he is continuing. So we'll continue to cover it because it's good stuff for us to cover. But,
well, you know what? Today was a lot of fun, actually. I got to tell you, like when I was excited, I was excited for today when I saw those tweets this morning of how he invented a ceasefire in the Middle East on Truth Social, and then went ape shit after because he's like, no one's paying attention to my tweets, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, you gotta be kidding me! We should
do a theatrical, recreation of those tweets. We should read them out with some music, as you said earlier. We should do that.
I wanted to so bad.
Yeah,
dude, and there were some other ones in there too today that made me laugh my ass off. Like, I mean, he is a senile, dumb, angry, catheter wearing, diaper shitting, completely incapable, totally idiotic, sexual assaulting felon, 34-time felon. And it has never been like the only reason I can laugh today at this stuff because it's heavy shit. Like, you cover how much of a negative dickhead this is for a few years. It catches up with you.
Yeah.
Is because it's beyond parody at this point. Like it is worth a laugh at this point because everything he does fails. He doesn't get anything right ever. But the fucking amazing part about this man, and I kind of respect it a little bit, is how he walks around with his chest out like he just fucking won the Masters all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if I lost that much, I'd never leave the fucking house. I'd be like, I don't want to leave today because, like, and I'm not a loser, but there are days where I feel like one, where something goes wrong, and I'm like, I don't want to go out of the house. I don't feel great about myself. Like, I don't know where that guy gets it. It's otherworldly to me.
His confidence is otherworldly, but when he goes out there and he says that Iran and Israel don't know what the fuck they're doing, he does not know what the fuck he's doing, and it's so patently obvious to everybody watching that he has no clue. And the thing about laughing about it is we have to laugh about it because they want to sink us into a state of fear and depression and total paralyze us from doing anything. That is why it's so important that you keep laughing because it is a joke. He is a joke. He is an emperor without any clothes. He deserves all the mocking and laughter that we can muster because that's the one way to undercut their attempts to bring fear to our society.
Yeah, you'll laugh at it, people, because if you keep getting angry, you're going to give yourself an embolism. Just laugh at it. He is so dumb. He does not know that he is wrong. Great point. Paralyzation is their goal. Kat, thank you. Yes, absolutely. You can't look at a tweet or a Truth Social post or read another story about one of this man's next failures and get angry. You have to go, fuck, of course. Of course he's a failure. Failed again. Donnie failure. Donnie 2 weeks is Donnie failure now. Yeah.
That's a great way to end the show. Everyone should check out deanblundell.substack.com. There's a lot of information in today's stories that you can find on Dean's website, including all the information about the Canada C5 bill and the deal with the EU. There's lots of other good stuff about the F-bomb that Donald Trump delivered this morning as he was having a meltdown over his failure. So check out deanblundell.substack.com. At narrative.org, I'm about to post a analysis of how exactly we got to this ceasefire and how quickly he had to change position, that he even surprised his own key advisors that he was going to do the ceasefire because he was in such a desperate position to try and turn this mess of a foreign policy exercise around. So that's coming up soon on narrative.org. I'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight with Olga Lautman for session number 4 of our Authoritarianism 101. It will be all about law and order and surveillance and the surveillance state that is being built in America. That is the show for tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Simone. I love you too. Thank you, PJ. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, America. Thank you, Canada. Thank you, people who love democracy. Thank you for hanging out with us. There's several hundred people in here, always supporting independent media because mainstream media has completely abdicated their responsibility when it comes to telling you the truth, giving you stories like this. Mainstream media does not exist anymore. Independent media is mainstream media, specifically people that you can trust and fact check in real time. As always encourage you to fact check all of our work, whether it's at narrative.org, where you can get 35% off your annual subscription till the end of June. Same with you can go to deanblundell.substack.com. fact check us too. Don't take our words for it. We like to have fun and kind of disseminate the information, but what we love doing is bringing you together into a place where you can trust us and we can trust you, that we have your back, you've got our back. Canadians and Americans together trying to suss our way through a very, very dangerous yet fucking hilarious time. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the Five Stack, everybody.
Bye, everyone.